Sometimes things just happen kind of organically. Dennis was talking about things we could talk about on the show, and he was like, let's look at how much the Panthers have changed, right? Franchise right now to 6 months ago. Now, I don't think you threw 6 months ago as like a specific – that's just like it's a good round number.
There was no head coach in place 6 months ago. There's a lot of uncertainty.
6 months ago was 1 week before. I did the whole how long ago was.com or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They were getting ready to fire Frank Reich.
So just before Frank Reich got fired.
Just literally days before Frank Reich got fired was 6 months ago. How much have the Panthers changed since then? First of all, you could have told me that was 6 years ago, and I'd be like, feels about right. A lot has happened in
yes.
A lot has happened in that time.
Since then.
Right? And we're talking about good, bad, and ugly, right? The draft happened, free agency happened, the Deontay Johnson trade happened, a bunch of actual football games happened.
Scott Fitterer was fired. A whole bunch of David Tepper roller coaster ups and downs. Like, there's a lot that has happened. Dave Canales was hired. Evero decided to stick around. They went so much. There was flirtations, even the little things that we don't remember that happened. Remember when Mike Evans was going to be a free agent and everyone thought Dave Canales was going to make a move for him because he had just coached him in Tampa? Yeah.
And then Mike Evans signed for $50-some-odd million to stick with Tampa, and everyone went, never mind. How much have they changed? In 6 months, the Panthers have changed in every way. The coach, the GM, a bunch of the players, the vibe. Brian Burns.
Yeah. Gosh.
With he was leaving, he was staying, he was leaving, he was staying, he was traded, we didn't get a first back. Oh, wait, they traded back into the first. Oh, look, he got all of the money in the world from the Giants. All of it has happened in the last 6 months. But in actuality, the way that I hope it changed the most is instability. Everything I just said, all right, this happened, and that happened, and this happened, and we forgot this happened, and you forgot that happened, and Brian Burns, and this, and that, and this knew, and that knew, and that knew, and that was fired, and that was fired. That's not how good franchises operate. Good franchises operate with the same people in control for decades. Right? The strongest franchises, look at the strongest franchises over the last however many years. Right, you're thinking Steelers, you're thinking Patriots, you're thinking Seahawks, you're thinking Packers. There are characters in those stories, even if they've changed recently, but they had been the same for decades. Pete Carroll in Seattle, right? Snyder, their GM in Seattle. Belichick, Brady, Tomlin, Roethlisberger, Rodgers. Right, these guys, they the best. They've been there forever. So if I'm looking towards the Panthers and I'm going let's look at the last 6 months and how much they've changed. Everything has changed, and that's a problem. Everything has changed. So I'm looking towards the next 6 months. Hopefully, it feels boring, other than the games being played. Right? Hopefully, 6 months from now, we're looking back. Canales is still in control.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Morgan is running a steady ship. It's obvious Bryce Young is the guy. There's no new crazy stories about David Tepper. There's no new crazy stories about one of your best players wanting to be traded. There's no need to go out there and shake everything up. In actuality, the way I hope it's changed the most in the last 6 months is going from frenetic to stable, going from skittish to calm, going from frenzied to some other word that means calm. I ran out. You got to get the three, rule of threes. Nothing about the Panthers last year seemed stable. By the perfect example, they were getting ready to fire their coach. They had already changed play callers on Bryce Young twice. They went Frank Reich, who was a new play caller at the beginning of the year, changed it to Thomas Brown. That's one change. Changed it back to Frank Reich. Mm-hmm. And we're getting ready to fire the coach and go into another play caller change for your young quarterback. The play caller this year is Dave Canales. And if it works early,
It's Dave Canales. If it doesn't work early, it's Dave Canales. Mm-hmm. It's Dave Canales. The best player on the defense is Derek Brown. He's signed to a contract extension that has him locked into the Panthers for a while, even if they have a rough year or two. That's the difference. Brian Burns was never locked into a contract. 5th-year options and franchise tags and all this stuff was talked about. That's just Band-Aids. That's just, let's make it to tomorrow. That's a problem for future us. Derek Brown is now locked in as the guy. Right? The other franchises I mentioned that were the best over the last 2 decades. You had Russell Wilson in Seattle. You had Ben Roethlisberger. You had Tom Brady. You had Aaron Rodgers. You need the quarterback to be good and be there for a long time. Either the Mannings, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers. You can look at the best teams and find the quarterbacks that are there for a long time. If we know that 6, 12, 18 months from now, that Bryce Young is one of those dudes, golly, just imagine how much the Panthers will have changed. 6 months ago, we had we were sitting watching the Panthers 6 months ago. We had been through roughly 10, 11 weeks of chaos already, and we're about to pour gasoline on the chaos fire. And not the good kind of chaos that the Canes tried to cause. Mm-hmm. The bad kind of chaos that you can't control and eats away from your team from the inside. We didn't realize how chaotic it was about to be at that point in time. So the mission for the Panthers that you hope they've accomplished over the last 3 or 4 months is just make it stable. Sturdy it up. Be that Dan Morgan and Dave Canales have to be that book you don't read that you put under the wonky leg of the table. The stabilizers. They have to be that, Spanish to English dictionary that you still keep around just in case, but you never actually open up. And then your table gets a little unstable and you throw it under there. That's what they have to be. Because you needed it in 9th grade Spanish class and it was part of the required textbooks.
The one thing that this team has that didn't have it 6 months ago was direction and a plan. It's amazing. Like they had zero direction. It felt like they had no plan for where they wanted to go.
Very reactionary.
Yes, it's like we're just going to put together this all-star coaching staff, and it all blew up in their face. It's like where do we go from here?
You have a game where the running game works better than the passing game. We're smash mouth. The next game, the passing game works better than the running game.
We're balanced.
We're air raid.
Yeah, it's just
we're a Big 12 offense.
But it just a plan of an organization, a plan about how you want to build your roster, a plan about how you want to grow and develop your culture. There was none of that 6 months ago. Not even close. Not even a shred of it.
Frank Reich, I feel like he had good intentions. He tried. He was little too nice. And by the way, we should emphasize that difference about Dave Canales. There's a difference between too nice or soft and optimistic. Because Dave Canales is relentlessly optimistic. That guy he wakes up every day excited that the sun rose. He was pretty confident it was going to happen, but he's pretty stoked that it happened. But
I feel great about playing football right now.
On April 16th or whatever that was.
Yep.
But he doesn't strike me as someone that compromises easy or tries to people please. Like he knows what he's looking for. He just looks for it in a very chipper tone. Very yippee.